Hello everyone, Rungus at 3 a.m. here. Ever since I made my first video on Doomguy, going over a lot of the universal scaling I had for him at the time, a lot has changed quite a bit. Some stuff got removed, well, yeah, some stuff got removed, a lot has been added. So this video will serve as a sort of update, telling telling some new stuff and saying what has been removed with proper reasoning. But this video will mostly go over evidence on already existing scaling. So, yeah, let's dig into this cunt. So, I have found a lot of evidence on the size of various structures that Doomguy would scale to, starting with the Earth dimension. In the Japanese official Doom Survivor's Guide, the universe or Earth dimension is said to be infinite in size. Going off this translation, I got using DeepL, which is one of the most accurate translation thingies, even more accurate than Google Translate. Doomguy scales to various characters like the Icon of Sin, who can destroy the universe or damage it by merely existing in it. I've seen I've seen some people, mainly on Quora and ones on Verspells Wiki, with this exact Imgur scan that I posted, say that universes in general in Doom are infinite in size, which, meh, I find it iffy, but I can't really think of a proper rebuttal against it. I guess there isn't a reason for why the other dimensions in the universe to be so much smaller than the Earth dimension, which, aside from being the origin place of the Doomslayer, really isn't that important or special in the grand scheme of things. There is also Hell. In the master levels of Doom 2, it is said to contain an endless sea of blood. In Doom 64, we see that Hell contains a void, which is said to be endless in the old Doom 64 recon guide. This is further proven later on in Doom Eternal and the Codex of the Story of the Sentinels, with the void in Hell also being described as eternal, which is a synonym for endless. In the Doom 2 Japanese guide, Hell was also said to contain countless monsters, so even more evidence on Hell being infinitely large. Davov scales to Hell very blatantly, and as I described numerous times, Doomguy very well scales above him. Second to last is Armagon's realm. I mistakenly called it the Rift before, but the Rift is just a portal that leads. It's the portal that Armagon uses to transport his armies to other realms. This realm was described as trans-dimensional in Quake Champions lore. Now, normally I don't think using trans-dimensional statements to argue something to be higher dimensional is okay. Yes, the dictionary definition says that, but it is mostly used in fiction is mostly used in the context of beings that can travel to other universes/timelines. I mean dimensions, fuck. Like the demons from Doom are said to be transdimensional a couple of times, but they're consistently labeled as interdimensional and died through third dimensional shit like regular soldiers carrying shotguns. So if they were to be higher dimensional entities, as using as a definition would suggest, this would make zero sense. Well, in this case, I think using it is okay since it's describing a location, the existence of this realm. So I think the universe traveling thing wouldn't apply here. The definition of transdimensional is relating to a dimension other than those of the normal three-dimensional world. So going off this, Armagon's realm is 4D, fourth dimensional. Armagon is not only the master of this realm, but his death caused it to collapse, destroying it in probably the most casual way possible. It is literally just an accidental result of his death and not an actual attempt at destroying anything. The Ranger killed Armagon, and Doomguy scales above him quite a lot. Lastly, the Dreamlands. I went over it a bit in my first video, but I really didn't give it justice for how vast it is. It is like a macrocosm, really, a realm that contains various other realms. For starters, the Dreamlands itself is said to be an extra dimensional realm that contains bottomless pits, which would make it infinitely large. This line of reasoning only gets stronger once you go over the realms within it. Now, while it isn't explicitly said, I think it is safe to say the Arena Eternal from Quake 3 Arena resides in the Dreamlands. The Dreamlands is where the Elder Gods and the Vadrigar reside, and a Vadrigar called the Arena Master rules over the Arena Eternal. The Arena Eternal is literally said to be an extra dimensional structure in the manual, and in the manual of Quake 3 Team Arena, it is said to contain a void of bottomless depths. The realm of black magic is an ethereal realm that contains an endless spiraling abyss. The realm of black magic. Fuck. The Elder World contains a countless number of beehole worms, and also Cathala, an elder god who is endless in size. And there's the Netherworld. Eh. Netherworld is a labyrinth dimension that is implied to be infinite, as beings within it, including the very god of the realm, have yet to find its end despite their endless search. To put it simply, think of it like the macrocosm of Dragon Ball, but on crack. How Doomguy scales to this is that in Quake 3 Revolution, he not only defeated the Arena Master twice, but grew in power to the point that his power is beyond the imagination of the Vadrigar, which is just completely insane. Now let's get into some fresh arguments. I've been wanting to talk about this argument in particular for a hot minute, but I'm happy that I finally am, since no one in my friend group gives a fuck about Doom scaling. Doomguy has defeated the Spider Mastermind numerous times across the games. The original Spider Mastermind was implied to have been the one behind the creation of the anomalies in the official Doom Survivor's Guide, which would make sense since it was the one who quote-unquote masterminded the invasion of the moon bases. These anomalies, the Phobos and Deimos anomalies, were determined to be ruptures in the fabric of time-space. Or in other words, the Spider Mastermind was rupturing, breaking apart the space-time continuum of the Earth dimension. This would not only scale to Doomguy, but a shit ton of other characters like Cyber Demons. In Doom 2, there is an entire level dedicated to the two fighting called Gotcha, and the Cyber Demon wins most of the time. There is also the Mother Demon from Doom 64, a demon described as an ultimate devil that required all of Doomguy's strength at the time to kill. On top of that, it was giving off energy signatures unlike anything else before, while crippled, making it far stronger than the Cyber Demon and the Spider Mastermind, let alone all these other characters like the Titan, the Icon of Sin, and especially Daybov. This further backs up my argument for the Arena Imperatrix, the Spider Mastermind from Doom 2016. I made up in my last video, with it being a mighty god to rule over all of the gods. I don't think the original Spider Mastermind would scale to this, however. I believe that it got stronger and they are blatantly different forms. I mean, just look at them. There are the immortal archdemons, or archdemons, whatever, which Doomguy would also scale to, since he scales above Daybov. The immortal archdemons serve as lieutenants for him and only answer to him without question. These guys are notable since they rule over the 9 circles of hell. Hell has a plentiful amount of evidence on it being infinitely large, so these circles that, that build up hell would have to be infinite in size to make any kind of sense. So these guys would have control over an infinite area, an infinite amount of space. Doomguy scales to William J. Blazkowicz, who has defeated the Devil Incarnate twice. The Devil Incarnate wields the power of the Death Dimension. I know the scan says hell, but that isn't the same hell as depicted in Doom. In the idverse, dimension is another word for universe as confirmed by Hugo Martin. So basically, this thing's power would be equivalent to a universe. There's also Scale Bearer, who absorbed and is able to harness the power of the Fathom Orb, a power source that consists of multiple universes containing black cities of impossible angles. If my memory serves me correctly, around the time of H.P. Lovecraft, dimensional space used to be called angled space. Given that these cities are described as having impossible angles, and this is a very well Lovecraftian theme, you can argue these cities to be higher dimensional, but I'm not an expert on that sort of thing, nor will I pretend that I'm an expert on that or even power scaling, unlike filthy TikToker twats like Happy117, who pretends to know about dimensional tiering and all that sort of shit, but goes on to say that everything in a universe, from planets to humans, are their own space times, which is absolutely ridiculous. Either way, regardless of the higher dimensional scaling, he he would have universal power. There is more stuff, but I want to go over what has been changed or removed. You can see everything that I have for the Doomslayer and my profile, which, as again said numerous times in my other videos, will be linked in the description. Not much has been removed. The only big one was the maker scaling. Basically, I used to have the con maker and the makers in general at universe level for three reasons. One, they're described as arbiters of dimensions, having control over all known and unknown dimensions. Two, they come from Erdag, which is a higher dimension. And three, the con maker seemingly shook Erdak. Firstly, one of the big shticks was that they spread their social influence and work with other civilizations. We see this process play out thoroughly in the story of the Sentinels, with them becoming gods to the Sentinels and ruling over their society. So the statements of them being arbiters of countless dimensions, yada yada, are most like a result of their social influencing of civilizations across the multiverse. Secondly, just because you are a resident of a 4D or higher dimensional structure doesn't mean you are higher dimensional yourself. Like, us humans are 3D beings, but we live in a universe, our universe, which can be considered 4D with its space-time continuum. We live in space-time. By that logic, we would be fourth dimensional, which is just fucking ridiculous, as I said when I brought up Happy 117 earlier. Lastly, the con maker didn't shake her deck. If you pay close attention, the shaking happens after her life spirit explodes and occurs right as the voice in the background screams. So this is it was because of the screaming in the background, not the con maker's death. This has been confirmed to be an entity above Davolf by Hugo Martin in interviews. People have said this was Davolf with the caption in the game one time. If you turn captions on at that scene, the screaming voice was said to be the Dark Lord, but this was confirmed by Hugo Martin to be an error and has been patched out, I think. Plus, it wouldn't make sense if it was Davolf. His whole plan was to get revenge on the Makers, so it wouldn't make sense for him to be sorrowful and screaming no because the con maker died. Aside from this, some minor changes, like Bitterman from Quake 2 has been replaced with Matthew Kane from Quake 4 with the macron scaling. Anyway, that'll be it for this video. I just wanted to give an update on the scaling, talk about what has been changed. A link to my profile will be below for those who want to see absolutely everything, along with another alien iceberg video from a friend of mine, Amelia, Lonely Fart. Tell her that Zark needs to drink the cum chalice in order to no longer be a soft cock. Anyway, have a good day, everyone.